Well, this is a really weird place to start this thing. Not just because the movie itself is a weird display of the best of avant-garde filmmaking, but also because it's only 17 minutes long and available for everyone to watch on YouTube. Incidentally, that does mean there's not a lot I can talk about, but I'm sure I can find a way to stretch this out to a reasonable length. Fortunately though, this does give me an opportunity to explain exactly what this is. Basically, I'm bored and looking for something to do. And my three favourite things happen to be movies, writing, and writing critiques about movies. So, through the process of elimination, I decided the best course of action to solve my boredom was to make a blog where I get to do exactly that. What separates me from the other millions upon millions of other people on the internet doing exactly the same thing? Well, not a lot really. I'm Australian. However, I am only going to review a certain criteria of movies. As you may have guessed from the title of this video, these are the movies so great that no film buff is allowed to miss them, and since I'd very much like to call myself a film buff, watching these movies seemed like my best option. That being said, I also want to see if these films are worth any of my attention. I want to see which of these so-called classics still stand up today, and which ones simply fail to reach a modern audience. Enough with the expositional shit, let's review Hold Me While I'm Naked. The film's plot centers around a young director attempting to finish his latest independent film, which requires his lead actress to be nude in most of her scenes. Unfortunately for this director, the actress has become uncomfortable showing her body around him, and so is now refusing to complete the rest of the film. And yeah, that's basically all there is to the plot, which I guess is what you can expect from a short avant-garde film. Now, I've never been that big on avant-garde or experimental films, though I do enjoy when mainstream films experiment with different techniques of storytelling, but that's not quite the type of experimenting that's going on here. Personally, I find it hard to buy into these kinds of stories because I like straight plots and storytelling with definable characters, and at times a lot of these films tend to go weird for the sake of being weird. I can see the fun in watching films that elaborately try to mess with your head and bend the rules of filmmaking and storytelling. If movies are going to be weird and experimental with camera angles, I like there to be story motivation behind that, rather than just a deliberate attempt to confuse the audience. Fortunately, with this particular film, all that weirdness feels genuinely motivated by plot and characters, which really helped me to engage more with the film and appreciate its bizarre editing choices and unflattering camera angles. This underground short was directed by George Kuchar, I think I'm pronouncing that right, in 1966, and starring his neighborhood friends. It was his first colored 16mm film, the quality which hasn't held up at all, that attempts to satire the glamour of filmmaking in general. In doing so, it also actively ridicules those who fail to distinguish fiction from reality and tend to hold on to films as substitutes for genuine human interaction and emotion despite the obvious illusion of it all. So, basically me. The real question is, do these themes mean it deserves praise, or does the film fail to hold up by today's standards? Well, yes and yes. The themes themselves are still relevant, and I feel they always will be, but just because its message is one that's relatable doesn't mean that the film is going to be for you. Somehow, this thing just winds up feeling repetitive, though maybe that's the point. But that's the problem with this kind of filmmaking. It attempts to escape criticism by simply hiding behind its experimentation. Anyway, that's a debate for another day. I would say that I like the film, but its quality definitely doesn't hold up, even if its message does. And the soundtrack is horrible, even if it's supposed to be. Is it a film you must see before you die? Well, I think so, but really only if you're super into film or particularly love avant-garde and experimental filmmaking. Otherwise, members of the general audience out there probably don't have to bother with this one.
Thank you for watching the show. If you enjoyed, please let me know. You can like and share, subscribe if you dare, and please leave a comment below.